Welcome back. It is 10:08 in the heart of the Riverbend. Sitting across from me, somebody I know pretty well, Jim Claywell. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you, CJ?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, and we got some news to talk about, kind of. You guys have some, wanted to start off because you guys have a newer building now. Did you guys update it?
Well, we moved back into our old building at 5213 May Drive in Godfrey about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And our firm, Claywell Asset Management, has occupied about 75% of the building.
Wow.
And we decided to renovate the back office and turn it into a place that we call the office.
I love
So
it.
how ironic. Not the show, but it's really office space for the sole proprietor, people who want an office space to meet their clientele. They don't necessarily want to hang out at a Panera or a Starbucks, which sometimes is not a bad thing, but you got people walking around.
Right.
At the same time, there's a lot of remote working because of COVID and whatnot. But coming out of that, a sole proprietor doesn't need a big office to rent, but a small little area. So we have 3 separate offices that are available, as well as an open area as well.
That's fantastic because, you know, I thought that, man, that is really cool because of all the times people are out at Panera and, like you said, even McDonald's, and you got to worry about, you know, maybe, you know, the wife and husband are arguing in the line and they're yelling at their kids for being too loud and they're meeting with the client. That's a great opportunity. And has it been met with pretty good response so far?
We haven't done a whole lot of advertising up to this point. We just renovated and got it done about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
There's a place called the Lodge in Edwardsville, across from the Wildy down there, that has gotten a lot of traction over the years. So we thought, well, let's have our own version of that in the Alton Godfrey area.
That is so cool. And I can only imagine it being successful because you're already in a nice layout with your guys' building. It's always been really nice. I know because my parents happen to be clients. And I've gotten to see that.
Disclaimer there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And the good thing is I love this because the FCC tries, you know, but they just can't touch me yet. They're trying to find ways over here to get into the internet.
Well, I don't use me as an excuse for them to find you. Come on now. Come on now.
I love it.
Yeah.
And take us through the renovation process before I get us all in trouble here.
Well, you know, we had to redo everything, floors and painting, and, you know, there was just a lot. Certainly, I don't have those skills, so we
Right.
hired out to the professionals, and they did a wonderful job. Also, security. It's
Okay,
well lit.
yeah.
We got cameras and, you know, security pads. People can come and go as they so desire. They would have their own key code, if you will, so it's private. But again, professional at the same time.
Absolutely. And I didn't know if you had any people reaching out, but if people wanted to look into leasing one of these rooms, or how could they do that?
They could just call my cell phone. That phone number is still 618-792-2671. I also may add that people in the area may know what's going on in front of our building on Godfrey Road, but BJC has broke ground on a 20,000 square foot
Wow.
medical facility. So a lot of activity going around in our neighborhood.
And I think that might help you guys a little bit too, to have that kind of, and whenever it's done, I mean, right now I'm sure it's not very, very fun to maneuver.
It's a little dirty right now, but I think their completion date is August of next year.
Oh, wow, that's pretty
It's
quick
a
turnaround.
major development.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I got to ask you, because I ask everyone this question, and that's about the pandemic years, because it affects every business a little bit differently. And I didn't know how that kind of affected you guys with, you know, you guys just renovated the building, but did it kind of slow things down for you a little bit, or did it make you work a little bit harder? Because it seems some people benefited financially from the pandemic, and, you know, not in terms of great wealth, but just doing okay.
Right. I think the interesting thing about the pandemic was the fact that those who didn't innovate kind of got left behind a little bit, and we had to innovate like everybody else did.
Right.
But it was fascinating. We had one of our best years ever as a business because there were a lot of financial advisors really not paying a whole lot of attention to their clients, kind of like hiding a little bit or not being proactive.
Gotcha.
And we were very proactive. In fact, we put out multiple series of videos talking about what not to do in an emergency. So we did a lot of those things. We learned, like a lot of people, to learn what Zoom was all about.
Right.
So phone calls and Zooms, and gradually, methodically coming out of the pandemic, starting to meet clients again in person. So, Yeah, I mean, so we had to be careful like everybody else. We had our share of everyone in the office getting COVID and
Right.
making sure that everyone was safe. But yeah, it was a great way to innovate.
That is really an interesting topic because, so many times I was reading, because I always tell people I read the news because I'm not not smart enough to be the news. So I'm looking through and I'm seeing, some people are doing very well in the market during the pandemic. Why was that? Was it just because of it's supply and demand issue or supply and demand stuff? Was it just interest, in the market itself during the pandemic?
Well, when we talk about the market, I mean, there's a ton of different markets, and everyone thinks the stock market is just the Dow,
Right.
and that's not the case. A global market, if you will, in the economy. But the fact of the matter is, coming into COVID, the economy was doing rather well in itself.
Right.
And nobody saw this, what I call black swan coming, our modern day version of the Spanish flu.
Right.
And we were not prepared, clearly. But then when the government, in its infamous wisdom, decides to shut down 80% of the economy in a month,
Right.
the markets took a hit because of the massive uncertainty. But then after that, realizing we were in a vaccine economy and a masking economy and 6 feet distancing economy, the markets actually rallied thereafter and rallied all the way up until the end of last year.
Wow.
And then inflation showed up.
Right. Well, right. And that's why, Thanksgiving dinner rose $10 this year.
But I think we still ate. I think we were still grateful and thankful for all of our blessings. And, let's face facts. I mean, a lot of people during COVID got money from the government.
Right.
And prior to COVID, a lot of people didn't have a whole lot in the bank. And because of some of the government subsidies, we have more money in the bank to deal with inflation. So
You're right.
we were at least thankful that we had a meal and family, and we're all still here.
I'm just thankful my neighbor left his door unlocked so I can grab his dinner and run back home,
There you go.
I'm just kidding. But
There you go.
with the holiday season coming up, I see all the time on Facebook, and I before I even ask you the question, I got to ask you, when you go through social media and you see some of the people that, if you put a penny back a day for, 365 days, you have, over X amount of pennies and all these different, I guess money saving tips, and tricks to, without breaking the bank on how, or trying to invest your stock portfolio or anything. What can you tell us, about some of these things? Is there a certain way to kind of approach the holiday season with, in terms of, saving your money or budgeting yourself, that you recommend over putting a dime in your shoebox every day?
Well, I mean, it all comes down to the 4 pillars and being fiscally responsible. I mean, unfortunately, we're in a culture and an environment, especially now, that, let's get everything for the holidays, buy stuff. The consumer, I think, had its biggest Black Friday weekend ever, close to $11 billion.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of spending going on. And sometimes when we overspend, we pay for that early January and February. Then we go into the infamous New Year's resolutions and health clubs. Health clubs are busy, right? For 2 months.
Right.
And then it falls off, and then we make those financial resolutions. The reality is we can't spend money we don't have,
Right.
number one. That is the key thing. And then we do have to save and invest and give. Those are really the 4 pillars of financial security. Not spending money you don't have, paying down debt, that's one. Saving, investing, and giving, quite honestly.
Right. That makes sense. And it's really cool because, and I got to ask you this before I forget, because we have young people that watch this show and, they attribute that to me. I think it's just because no one's working, but, I'm just kidding.
Well, you're
Just
young
joking.
too.
Well, that's true. And, a lot of times you have a younger family that's just starting out, maybe a younger single parent. What do you, what's your kind of advice to somebody that's looking to invest long term? Because, I've reached out to, individuals before just to kind of, see where things are at. What's the safest thing to do first over anything?
Well, I think you do have to build up your emergency savings.
Okay.
Because that's really not an investment per se, a long-term investment, but it's short-term savings for an emergency, especially single parents, young parents with young families. Start out by making sure you have a handle on what your budget is and build up your savings account, minimum $1,000, $2,000 in the bank before you start investing. That being said, once that is done, then most of us who work for a company-sponsored retirement plan, 401k, simple IRA, something like that. If you're young and you don't have that, then a Roth IRA, allowing your money to grow tax-free, is a wonderful way to do that. Unfortunately, again, When people talk about investing, it's almost like religion. Everyone's got, and politics, all got opinions on it, and crypto and all this kind of crazy stuff. It's a crazier time than ever to be investing. What do you invest in? And we just stick to the true and blue diversified mutual funds. I mean, there's a lot to be said about diversification, clearly, but if you don't understand what you're investing in, probably not a good idea to put your money in it.
Absolutely. And, a couple of minutes left here, and that's why I should have listened to you with the FTX thing. I put all that money in, and look where it went, Caymans. But
lesson learned. Let's start over.
Just kidding. But, there's so much.
Start over.
Well, I wanted to ask you, too, about your involvement in the community, because you talked about giving a little bit of part, being one of the 4 pillars there. But, you're someone who's very affluent in the community about, putting on events. I know you guys recently had a Veterans Day breakfast or get luncheon type of a setting, an event. Talk us through some of the things that you kind of put on in the community and why you do it.
Well, about 6.5 years ago, I left my previous firm where I was an employee. Mm-hmm. The name of that firm rhymes with Edward Jones. There you go. Shameless plug there. But I left to be an independent fiduciary financial advisor. And even in my days of Edward Jones, we would always look back to how can we give back to the community, community that's given to us. Now, owning my own firm, being an independent fiduciary advisor, when we first started our firm, we asked ourselves, what can we do to give back with no expected return whatsoever? And one of the ideas was this Veterans Day breakfast that we just had, our 5th annual. We had over 210 veterans and their families.
Wow.
So that was really cool. Best Western was gracious enough to host, and we had 8 or 9 other businesses that shared in the cost so that we could make this event truly their day. And that was really cool. But the reason why we invest back into the community is because we are community. Mm-hmm. We're not a big firm located outside of the community, but we are here. We live and breathe the community. We are part of the community. And we really think it's our obligation to give back.
Absolutely. And really thank you for your time. One last thing for you. What's that phone number again if somebody wants to rent out the office or lease out the office?
Right. The office is available, and all you need to do is call 618-792-2671. And when I came in, CJ, I realized that the employment rate in this room is 100%. You and I and Santa.
There we I love it.
He's employed.
You're
he's
right.
on his way.
And you're right.
Hope everyone's on the good list.
No, I'm not. Jim Claywell, thank you for your time, sir. It's been a blast, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, CJ. Appreciate it.
No problem. It's 10:20 in the heart of the Riverbend. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. Luis Noya is going to fill us in on the World Cup and the Blues locker room right after this in downtown Alton.